Ladies and gentlemen, Ukraine said they fear defeat without any military aid coming in. So they're saying if nothing comes soon, they're afraid they're going to be defeated. So they are still in the Donbass region, although Russia pretty much have that whole area. But I'm going to let you listen to this audio from the Wall Street Journal. Ukraine fears defeat in East without surge in military aid. Russia advances in Donbas region as U.S. allies prepare to discuss new heavy weapons supplies for Kyiv. By Yaroslav Trofimov and Stephen Fiddler. June 13, 2022, 6:13 a.m. Eastern Time. The war in Ukraine has turned into a grinding artillery contest where Russia is steadily gaining ground thanks to its overwhelming advantage in firepower. As the U.S. and allies gather Wednesday to discuss fresh military aid to Kyiv, Ukraine's fate will largely depend on how fast and in what quantities these heavy weapons arrive. Without a broad and rapid increase in military assistance, Ukraine faces a defeat in the eastern Donbas region, Ukrainian officials warn. That would pave the way for Russia to pursue its offensive to Odessa and Kharkiv after regrouping in coming months, they say, and potentially all the way back to the capital, Kyiv, after that. Western officials and analysts question whether Russia has the wherewithal to achieve this, even if it makes further gains in the Donbas area. They say Russia's military has been severely battered in the war and might lack the manpower and equipment to advance beyond the Donbas region soon. Yet Russia still enjoys a significant superiority over Ukraine in artillery and armor. Ukrainian forces estimate that they have one artillery piece per 10 to 20 Russian ones on the front lines, with each of these guns allotted only a fraction of the ammunition at the Russian gunners' disposal. As a result, every day that Western heavy weapon supplies are delayed is measured in hundreds of Ukrainian casualties, they say. While Kyiv was initially cagey about its losses, unwilling to dent the population's morale, Ukraine's government now acknowledges that the country's military is losing between 100 and 200 soldiers killed in action each day, with about 5 times that number injured daily. In this war, the victory will be with the side that has more and better weapons. And if Ukraine doesn't obtain enough weapons in time, it will bleed out, said Anton Yashchenko, an advisor to Ukraine's interior minister. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is slated to host the third Ukraine Contact Group Conference of Defense Ministers and top military officers from North Atlantic Treaty Organization members and other allies and partners in Brussels on Wednesday, looking into how best to help the Ukrainian military at this stage of the war. At the start of the month, President Biden released $700 million in new weapons deliveries to Ukraine, the first slice of a $40 billion aid package authorized by Congress that includes as much as $19 billion in military assistance. That would bring the total to $5.3 billion of U.S. weapons supplied to Ukraine since the invasion. The UK, Poland, the Baltic states, and other allies have also made weapons deliveries. These weapons, particularly the anti-tank and anti-aircraft missiles, played a critical role in enabling Ukraine to withstand the onslaught on Kyiv in the first weeks of the war, precipitating a Russian withdrawal from northern Ukraine in late March. Moscow has reorganized its forces since then to focus on seizing all of the Donbas region, using heavy artillery to blast its way from one town to another. Russian President Vladimir Putin in February recognized the independence of the Moscow-created proxy states in the Donbas area and no longer acknowledges the region as part of Ukraine. He also began issuing Russian passports and introduced the ruble in occupied parts of southern Ukraine's Kherson and Zaporizhia regions, where Russian-appointed authorities say they are working on referendums to annex these territories to Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the war won't end until Russia withdraws from all the territories it occupied since the invasion began on February 24th. If Ukraine is sufficiently armed to defend itself, this goal is realistic, some Western military experts say. I do believe that by the end of this calendar year, the Ukrainian forces are going to drive the Russian forces back to the February 23rd line, said retired Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, a former commander of the U.S. Army in Europe, who is now with the Center for European Policy Analysis. But to achieve this, he said, Ukraine must get enough Western long-range artillery and rocket systems, as well as the necessary ammunition. If we fail to do that, Then this is going to go on for potentially years, General Hodges said. Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak published a wish list of weapons Monday that he said would help Ukraine end the war, including 1,000 howitzers, 300 multiple launch rocket systems, and 500 tanks. We are waiting for a decision, he wrote on Twitter. Russia has suffered extensive losses in the conflict, with Western governments estimating that as many as 20,000 Russian soldiers have been killed and multiples of that number injured. Kyiv has put the number of Russian fatalities at 32,000, while Moscow stopped updating its toll after acknowledging 1,351 military fatalities on March 25th. Many more individual death notices came out after that, including for several generals and commanders of battalions and brigades. Oryx, an open-source intelligence platform, has documented visual evidence of Russia losing 767 tanks, 422 armored fighting vehicles, 116 armored personnel carriers, 64 towed and 121 self-propelled artillery pieces, 79 multiple launch rocket system platforms, 46 helicopters, and 31 warplanes since the invasion. Okay, because they're going to do that. This is America. Okay, remember, they're on the side of Ukraine. So they think they can propaganda us into believing that they even had a fat chance of winning. So they're going to do this. We can expect this. We should see this in any article. So the Ukraine is admitting they are looking at defeat. If the military aid don't get there soon, it's over. Personally, I think anytime you're thinking and feeling that way, it's already over. It's been over. Okay. And, you know, I don't see how they're going to make this happen anyway without the Russians intercepting what's going over there. I'd still think, even if they send it, it's a very big chance it won't even make it to these soldiers fighting for Ukraine at all. But y'all tell me what you think about this video. Just disregard all the propaganda stuff because we know what they're trying to do. It's the same thing they've been trying to do our whole lives, make us feel and think a certain way. It just looks silly, but they think they can always pull the propaganda stuff with us all the time. The bottom line is, I remember in the beginning of the war, because I did a video on it, they said they didn't even have enough equipment, military aid to fight the Russians. So it's not shocking to me that they are saying they fear defeat. They can feel it. They know it. They're on the ground. Americans sitting in the comfort of your home, you don't know what that's like for them. So y'all, please tell me what you think about this latest story that has come out about Ukraine. And I just expect in the coming weeks, this is just not going to be good for them at all. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family. Oh, and you notice in the audio, they didn't tell you how many soldiers and tanks and weapons Ukraine lost, but they only want to tell you what the Russian side lost. And see, that's why I turned it off. It's still very biased in the way American uh, media want to tell you about this war. It's very slanted and one-sided. Peace, family.